I'm at the stage now where I need to fit the stub axle oil seal into the stub axle. So I have two seals here. Let's get these right around. This is one that I bought probably 9 years, 2014 I think I bought this one. When I did the front axle rebuild, I bought several varieties and this is the one that's left over. And I got this one that came with this stub axle from Britpart. And I've got to decide which one I need to fit or which one I want to fit because they look different. This one that came with the stub axle, it's got one sealing ridge in there. See that in there? Just that lip there. This one that I bought years ago has got two. It's got two little ridges in there. If you can just see. I'm probably going to fit this one because it's newer. The rubber's darker, and dark rubber usually means, or I tend to think it means better quality rubber. But I'm probably just going to fit this one. But what was interesting about this is FTC5268. And this is what's listed in the parts diagrams. But the stub axle I took off, it's got a completely different seal. Doesn't have the metal ring that this one does. And we look at this one. This has got a spring just under there, and the spring on this one's just under here. So this is how they would fit. So I was a little bit confused because FTC 5268 came into effect in about 1997. And this is a 2003 axle. Either the part number was wrong or someone's been here and replaced this. So that's a bit of a conundrum. So as per usual, it's a technical service bulletin to the rescue. This one from February 1997. And it talks about the front stub axle seal being replaced because apparently they were currently not fitted in the best orientation to seal most effectively. A new seal was specified with a metal insert to protect the seal on assembly, and this is to be fitted the opposite way round to the way the current stub axle seal is fitted. Note, FTC3145, which was the original seal, will continue to be fitted to the rear stub axles. And then lower down in the parts information, 5268 replaces 3145 front stub axle seal. So, there we go. The diagrams have been wrong. Typically, 3145 is correct for the rear and 5268 is correct on the front. So it turns out that this is actually the correct oil seal for the rear stub axle on a Defender. At least this is, that's what the technical service bulletin says. The diagrams have been typically wrong. I'm going to update LR Workshop. And certainly by 2003, 6 years later, they were still fitting this type of seal. I'd be interested if there's any Puma owners who have taken the stub axle off for the first time in its life, confirm whether it had this type of oil seal on. But I think I'm going to update the diagrams in LR Workshop to list this part number in future and put a note describing this situation. That's really interesting. In any case, this is the seal I have. I don't think it's going to go particularly wrong by using this one instead of this original one. This one's got one sealing lip on here, so I'm just going to fit this one with the one sealing lip as well. What is slightly confusing is the technical service bulletin says this one on the front stub axle should be fitted in reverse, or rather it says with the metal lip facing, which is in the reverse to where it used to be, which would have been like that. Now normally you put the spring, which is here, the spring side, that goes towards the liquid you want to keep out. So for example, on the front timing case on a 300 TDI, you want to keep the water out of the timing case, so you fit it with the spring facing up and outwards, as it were, to keep water from going into the timing case. So I can't really imagine why they would want the spring to be the other way around, fitting, let's say, in the stub axle. If it was fitted in originally that way, you would prevent liquid getting in from this direction. Probably around 1997 when they made this change, they would change it from maybe EP90 in the swivel housing. Maybe it was a hangover from the old days when it was oil-filled bearings. They didn't want the oil migrating into the EP90 in the swivel housing, and then it became an issue, and then they wanted to turn it around and keep the grease from getting into the bearing grease. Don't know how that would work. Or maybe when because it's a grease that turns more to liquid when it's in motion, maybe they were having problems with it leaking out and down down here, so that's why they flipped it round, and at the same time fitted this metal collar so that they're not going to damage the lip as they might potentially do if they were using this side, but they're still using it on the rear. Very confusing, very confusing. Anyway, I believe seeing this one in terms of depth of fitting, that's pretty much fitted right the way down to the shoulder. So that's what I'm going to do on this one, is fit it right the way down to the shoulder on here. And to do that, I'm going to use a 34mm socket, which seems to be, well, it's the biggest socket I've got, and it seems to work quite well. I can do this by hand. Yeah, is that in flush? There's a little bit more on that side. A little bit more there, perhaps. Okay, I think that's good.